In this lab, you are able to launch a complete continuous integration solution in a few minutes. You demonstrated that you had user access through the Jenkins UI and that you had administrative access control over Jenkins by using SSH to connect to the VM where the service is hosted and by stopping and then restarting the services. Many of the activities that occurred in that lab were nearly transparent, and they used resources and methods that you learn about in the rest of this course. Examples of this include the acquisition and configuration of a network IP address, the provisioning of a virtual machine instance along with the installation of software on that machine, and the passing of default state information from the environment during the setup process. You can stick around for a lab walkthrough, but remember that GCP's user interface can change, so your environment might look slightly different. So here I am in the GCP console, and the first thing I want to do is navigate to the marketplace. So up here, I've already clicked on the navigation menu, and marketplace is pretty much on top. So I'm going to click on that. And now I want to search for Jenkins, specifically the one that's certified by Bitnami. So I can just directly paste that in the search address here. And here we go. This is the one I'm looking for. So I'm going to click on that. Now I can read all about this. There's an overview. It tells me this runs on Compute Engine. It uses a single virtual machine when it was last updated. It talks about all the packages, the operating system. If I scroll down, I can learn more about the pricing. There's obviously pricing associated with the VM instance itself. It does not have a usage fee. If it did, that would be displayed here and you'd be billed for all of that together. There's a standard disk charge, and then there's a sustained use discount, which we'll learn more about in a later module. So once I'm happy with all that and I've read through, I can go ahead and click on Launch on Compute Engine. Now it's going to present me with an interface here where I could change the name, the zone, the machine type, a lot of other settings that are very similar to configuring a virtual machine. I can again see all the software, terms of service, the cost one more time. And once I'm ready to go, I can click Accept the Terms of Services and click Deploy. So now I'm actually in a different interface. This is a Deployment Manager. We'll learn about this later in the course series. But the interesting thing now is I can see the setup process. So there's an actual file here that has all the configuration in a Ginger file. There is a VM that's being created. There are two firewall rules that are created, TCP for port 80 and 443. So that's HTTP and HTTPS. And I can wait for this machine to now come up. There's also some software configuration. I can again learn about all of the software that is installed here. I can click on this VM instance to get more information about it. And we can see the VM's instance is up, the firewall rules are up. So the last thing that's happening here is the software is being configured. And I can even learn more about that software. Here I already clicked on that, so these are again all the different versions that we can get. And then again, once this is running, this table up here will be populated. It's all currently pending because this is still being initialized. And there we can see that the instance is now ready. So there are a couple different things we could do. We have an admin user as well as a password. So we can copy that. We could click on Visit the Site, and this is going to open that in a new tab that's just navigating us to the external IP address. And it's going to load. Let's see, it says it's starting. It's probably the service itself. It's still getting ready to work, so you can see that the software in the background on the instance is installed, but it also needs to launch. So that itself can take some time too. And now it's up and running. I can put my username in, and I can put the password in. I can click Sign In. And once I'm in here, I should be asked to customize Jenkins. There'll be some suggested plugins that I can install. Once I've done that, I can restart the instance. Deployment Manager and the GCP Marketplace will also give you sometimes some suggested next steps. For example, this password up here is just temporary, so we could go change that. The other thing we could do is we could assign a static external IP address so that when we visit the site, it's always going to be the same IP address. And that really helps if you have a DNS setup for this instance. If I go back here, I can click that I want to install the suggested plugins. It's going to do that. It's going to tell me where that instance is. I can save and finish. And I can go start using it. And this should, again, now restart the service. So here we are. So now I can explore this a little bit. I could manage Jenkins itself. And there are lots of different actions that I could perform here. And I could also now further administer the service. So if I go back to the console and I'm looking at this deployment here, and I'm looking at Jenkins 1, I could actually SSH now to this instance. So let me click that button. And that's going to establish now an SSH session to the service. And I can then actually shut down all the services by copying the command that's in the lab instructions. So let me just paste that in here and run that. And if we go back to the Jenkins UI and refresh that page, we'll see that it's gone. Right? And that is expected because I have gone ahead and I have restarted that service. So what I can do now is I stopped them. I can now restart it by running the restart command in here. So let's grab that and paste that in here. And now the service should come back up. We might have to refresh the page a couple times for that to happen. So let's just wait a couple seconds. Refresh it and see if that service comes back up. My tab name has changed to Start in Jenkins. So it looks like that service is already coming back up right now. And we can see that that service is getting ready right now. And so at this point, we've completed all the tasks. I could now go back to the SSH session and exit out of here. And here we see that Jenkins is back up and running. And that's the end of the lab.